other two were here, and those went into the ribs. And so I'll go around and see how those ones did. I don't know what it is, but something just feels off. Yeah, I know something's off, but this is lightweight because I'm supersetting in order to maximize hypertrophy and get those gains. What? No, I could care less about your weird little insecurities. I feel like something's watching us. Well, our caveman friend has been lurking in the bushes over there for the past few videos. I think he's got a crush. It's not him. There's something else going on here, something different, something I don't trust. Nah, I wouldn't worry about it, man. I think you're just being paranoid. Those agains, the treacherous woman who shaved off my glorious beard. She is right. There is evil here. Trollo, relax, man. It's hair. It'll grow back. Yes, and I'm sure that's exactly what Delilah said to Samson after she cut his hair and they gouged his eyes out. Took a dark turn. Much as I hate to agree with a woman, that one, she is right. I sense something here like Loki's magic, deception, or Jotnar. We must be on our guard. I doubt there's a creature stupid enough out there to mess with these guns. Sir Gaines, could you just shut up for 1 second? I agree with Trollo. There's certainly an evil here. Maybe from Morian or something of that nature, but I can sense it. Thank you so much for your contribution. Pretty woman. We've been over this. You know I'm not actually a woman, right? Oh, would you look at that, Ranger? I think he's taking a fancy to you. Thanks, person. That's super duper helpful. Bottom line, I think all you superstitious idiots are just being really paranoid. What are you looking at? Sir Gaines, don't panic, but there's something on your chest. Oh, that's probably not a good thing, right? Shut up, all of you idiots. I have fought this creature before. It is large and uses cloaking devices. Takes the trees to get around its quarry, and it often seeks to incapacitate the strongest member of the group first. Well, it's been a bit. How you beta cringe cosplay? Boom. You know, well, part of me is happy that wasn't me. The implication's a little hurtful, right, guys? What the heck? How is he considered the most dangerous one? Yeah, like how could that idiot be rated as the highest threat? See, there's no way that Alpha Bro is the most dangerous out of all of... Oh, heck no. That is some BS. What? Oh, look at that, guys. No. There's no way that can be true. That right there, that is ridiculous. Yeah, that's right. Second most dangerous character here. Oh, well, that's not a good thing, is it? How on earth have any of you managed to survive this long? Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, nerd and nerdettes. Now, today's video is going to be quite simple. It's going to be a versus. So in the 80s, when the Predator first graced the screen and gave us really what was one of the most memorable antagonists and villains in all of cinema history. Since then, there's been quite a few installments, most not that great, some okay. I thought Prey was pretty good, and Killer of Killers was actually a lot of fun because it also reopened the age-old discussion of what if a predator went back in time and faced varying warrior cultures. How would they fare and how would the people adapt to that situation? So to start this conversation, I'm gonna pass it over to our resident monster hunter, Grumpalt. I don't want to be here, but fine. I'll break down this monster for you. You know there's a nice way to say things, right? The Yahuta, or predators, are fierce hunters. They seek the thrill of the hunt above all things, seeking out more dangerous game to capture, kill, and maim in order to gain more prestige and notoriety in their societies. As for the different types, there are multiple different fiercely loyal clans. They all stem from the Hish, which came from Utah Prime. Early in their planet's history, they were conquered by the Amenji, who had advanced technology and enslaved the early predators.
But after a successful uprising, they were able to procure the advanced technology and use it as their own. In their size, they range from 7 to 8 feet, weighing as much as 500 pounds. They have increased bone density, muscle density, much thicker skin, which helps absorb damage from slashes and cuts. As such, they have much more agility than a feeble human. They can jump higher, run faster, and they're actually much smarter than the average human. They have a ramped up immune system, but are not invulnerable to all potions and poisons. They are also susceptible to blunt, piercing, and slashing damage. Even though their skin is thicker, it is not invulnerable to the cut of a sword or the piercing of an arrow. As with all warriors, no two are alike, and no two possess the same skill. At the bottom of the rung, we have the unbloodied. They just started their training, haven't even finished what would be equivalent of Predator basic training. After that, we have the Youngbloods. The Youngbloods are experienced hunters by that point, but they have not yet taken down dangerous prey, such as the xenomorphs or even humans, for that matter. However, the Youngbloods tend to hunt in packs of 3 to 5, making them more dangerous. Oftentimes, they may go out on their own to try and prove themselves in a hunt, but as a whole, they come in a group. The Bloodied are accomplished warriors who have fulfilled their duty of killing an alien xenomorph. At that point, they receive the mark from the alien xenomorph's blood, and they are no longer the Youngbloods, but they are the Bloodied. These are fierce warriors, and they often hunt on their own. Technologically, they are far more advanced than simple man. They can travel the stars. They have a bevy of gadgets that can do all sorts of crazy magical things. And in addition to that, they have thermal vision, which lets them hunt in the dark, taking away the element of stealth in fighting in the darkness that many rangers would rely on. However, they are not invincible. Their biggest weaknesses, for one, is they are overconfident in their abilities and their technology. The other weakness is their code of ethics and adherence to the hunt. There's a very specific parameter set that must be met in order for them to make an honorable kill. They do prefer to hunt in warmer, tropical climates, although as we did see in Killer of Killers, they can still wreck some stuff in cold Scandinavia. They prefer their hunts to be in warm, temperate climates, so they may be at a disadvantage if they are in the cold lands of England. But naturally, they'd be of no consequence to a witcher. I think I killed 3 more dangerous monsters than they on the way over here. However, for a simple, feeble, puny human ranger, I think you are going to die instantly. No, wait. No, you are going to cry. Pee yourself. Cry again. Beg for mercy. Somehow have some pee left in your bladder to pee again. Cry. Beg again. And then die in probably the most humiliating way possible. I wish you best, but I wagered all my money that you would die in that specific order. Sir Gaines thought it would be peeing first and then crying, but kind of on the same page.
Now, before we start breaking out the arrows and destroying stuff, I think it's important to establish we're probably going to go against an unblooded in this one here. So one that hasn't killed a xenomorph yet, is not fully trained, doesn't have all of the arsenals. The predators kind of tend to cheat a lot. Not too far outside the realm of similar. They don't use like machine guns, right, where they obviously have access to crazy technology. They kind of keep it simple. So we're going to say he's using the simpler weapons, the spear, the blades, the claws. He's light in armor, and this is going to be his skin here. I'll go over that soon, but first we're going to need to set some traps. Now for the traps I'm going to be showing, these are obviously going to be smaller scale. If you're going after something that's 500 pounds, you're going to need to scale those up. I don't have the large enough trees to do those, so I'm going to give you the best examples possible. The first one I'm going to do is called a spring snare trap. Now spring snares are going to take trees, bend them down so that when the prey gets stuck in the loop here, and it's a running loop, boom, it latches on. It's going to pull out this little lever here from inside the accompanying piece, and then it's going to spring that up into the air, therefore taking it off the ground. Now you need a really heavy duty tree to bend that down, but I'm going to show you the concept of how that works and how that would work against a predator, let's say. So a trap like this takes a little bit of time to set up, but not a terrible amount. The hardest part is really just carving out the connecting pieces here so you can see the whole apparatus. The way that it works is they're locked in here like this, And then as something moves, it causes this to disengage. This snaps up, it's gonna pull the prey up into the trees. And so if you have a large enough tree and you're able to bend it down enough, get these locked in there, it's gonna be a good way to try and catch something off guard. The next one falls in the category of deadfall traps. Now the good thing about deadfall traps is you can add weight to it accordingly to what you assume the prey may be. So you can use just a piece of wood to start. I took, as a ranger may use, I just have some broken arrows here that I used for the spikes to make it a little sharper. I have a stone on this as well to add mass and add weight. Just like the other one I did, this can of course be modified and scaled up larger and larger if you think there is a larger tray by using larger logs or getting a larger tree or a bigger drop zone. It's a very simple one to build. All you need first is you need to drill in a piece of wood to the ground, get a tree, and then once you picked out your tree, you're gonna take 2 pieces of wood, spike those into the tree at kind of like a little bit of a downward angle. Then you take one little additional piece and it's gonna stick in there and lock that mechanism. Once someone trips that, that's gonna move and kick out of the way, and that's gonna cause the deadfall to fall. So deadfalls are a great tool. They have been used for bears, so I figure bear's about the same size weight as a predator, so it should work well. In the original movie, they used a lot of these types of traps. They may not catch them off guard. They do seem pretty savvy as far as when they're looking for traps and viewing their surroundings, but just adding a few things to it as well can really help add to the lethality. Adding old arrows that are broken on the bottom, adding extra stones or rock for weight is gonna help it fall down harder. Getting it higher in a tree, getting a bigger log, all of those things will help a lot. And it may not catch the predator that's pursuing you, but it'll at least give it pause to make sure that it's not moving too fast, and that gives you more time to plan and regroup as you set these up and try to figure out when can you get a kill shot. Now, as Grumpalt alluded to earlier, their skin is much thicker and more durable than humans, and their bones are much thicker and stronger. So to try to replicate that, I have this 4mm tanning leather here. I have a little pouch in the back here. This is where I'm gonna set up the cow ribs, which I think is probably gonna be analogous to what a predator would be, because they weigh about 500 cows. Cows are a lot more than that, but I think that density of the bone is gonna line up. So this is gonna be our target right here. So here's how we're gonna set up our first test. I'm gonna set these ribs inside of the leather like this. It's got that little pouch in the back. We're gonna take some shots at it from varying distances, and then from there see how much it's able to penetrate in through the leather and into the bone. I should probably turn that around, shouldn't I? Just like that. And then after that, we're gonna say last ditch effort. You get in close, how much damage can you do against that if you had to pull one of these out, if you're able to get a clean shot at the predator before it came after you. So how did our thick leather hide do? Well, the shots that hit just leather were here and here, and those buried in very, very deep. I would say, it didn't provide much obstruction at all. So even if you have a tougher, thicker skin, it's not gonna matter. It slowed down mainly on this dummy behind here, if you guys know. That is a thick weave filled with clothing and padding. So it's gonna stop arrows really quickly. The other two were here, and those went into the ribs. And so I'll go around and see how those ones did. All right, so the other one right here is stuck in the dummy, but that actually missed. That went through both parts of the leather though, so 8mm of leather technically. The one that went inside here, let me pull that out, see if I can. You can see that made it through the ribs into the back by a good margin. It looks like it actually threaded in between the ribs as well, so that's promising. As always, you want to try and get in between the ribs. So if you can get there and get through those ribs, that's going to have to slow it down. Again, if I had this behind the hay, it would go a lot deeper into it, but that dummy basically decelerates them almost instantaneously. However, that was still enough to go through and through, pop out the back, so both sides of the leather. So if you're able to get a clean shot on them, it's gonna do work. They're not gonna be able to just walk that off. It's gonna go in and through those ribs. However, the one problem that does arise, of course, is going to be bodkins are still going to be easy to pull out. So they have field kits. They're able to basically go ahead and mend their wounds and tend to them really easily. So that's not something that's going to stop them indefinitely. It's going to puncture in, but it's not going to slow them down entirely, which is why next test, I'm going to be trying it with a barbed arrow. So for these next two tests, I only have two different kinds. I only have two more barbed arrows left. So these are going to be close-up shots. I'm going to stick with the 130, maybe the 160 in reserve if the first one doesn't go through. We're going to check and see how these perform against that, because these don't seem to be the most quality tips. They tend to bend a bit. So I don't know if that's going to cause any sort of problem when it hits that leather. So even just with the 130 and the barbed arrows, we seemed to be incredibly successful. I'll bring that around so you guys can see what's going on here, and I'll take it apart and we'll get a look at it. But the good thing about those is they are going to be hard to get out. What we have here is this one actually hit, and you can see it cut through. There's a cut right there. So actually hit in between and cut there in between those ribs. The second one was right here, and that one actually threaded those ribs as well. So here's where the good part comes in for the Ranger. Because that went in between and through the ribs, it's going to be extremely hard to get that out. They obviously have advanced technology. I'm sure they could probably figure something out, but that's really going to slow them down because it's going to take much longer to triage those injuries there. So just keeping it easy again, whoop, that's much better than any other way. But so far what we have here is that one went through here, was able to go in between those ribs. It actually hit, you can see it cut the rib right in there, and it pushed into it, so that rib helped guide it into place, and the other ones were there. So far I actually haven't hit any of the bones directly, which is great because we're gonna get in close with the Warhammer next. So as you probably know, my strength-based archer prefers. So as you probably know, my strength-based low intelligence archer does like the Warhammer because it takes less skill than a sword and it can still do massive damage. So I'm gonna take a few strikes at it with the blunt side here and then with the back side as well to see if I can crack and break those ribs. So even with that dummy behind it, which helps absorb a lot of that impact, in the past it's kind of given some not great results. You can see right here we have an extreme crack and break, just like mush at that point, and then one right here as well, just completely cracked it in half. No and ifs or buts right there. So if you're able to get in close enough, let's say you set the trap, you've caught him, you wound him with some arrows, he can't get them out, you get up real close with the Warhammer, crack some ribs, you can start doing some damage, but it's gonna be a war of attrition. You have to be very smart, very slow, very methodical, and not get greedy, let's say. And then our final ditch effort once he's wounded and downed. If any of you have read Ranger's Apprentice, you know that no ranger goes anywhere without a Seax knife. It's Halt's bread and butter, who is still my favorite fictional archer. Sorry Legolas, but he's just cooler to me. So this is gonna be our final attempt. I'm gonna see how I can thrust through that thick 4mm leather into the ribs, if I can get behind it and try and finish this guy off once and for all. So yes, without a doubt, you can get through it, and this made its way through the ribs as well. That two-handed, so it did take two hands, but again, most of that is because the dummy behind it really stops that acceleration. But I was able to go through both layers of the leather and the ribs as well. So that's gonna be enough to put something down for good. Well, ladies and gentlemen, looks like we were able to complete our task with just the 130-pound bow and the weapons here. Now, the reason I don't use the 160-pound bow as frequently as this is because it is a nicer bow and wood bows do deteriorate over time. So I practice with it, but I really don't string it up that much unless I'm really going to try and make a point where I'm having trouble getting through something. So as long as this one still works, I'm happy to use it for the test, but if I ever need to ramp it up, I will, and that's why I always have it out here with me. However, what's the final verdict? Could a ranger take out a predator? Well, most likely I would not. My survival ranger skills are passable at best, and I think I would get smoked the moment it came down. I'd be like, what's good? It's dead. But do I feel like if someone played their cards right, were extraordinarily skilled with the weapons that I have, they're able to do that and outsmart it and take it down? Most assuredly, yes. I think they have a really good shot. I think a ranger, especially with the skills they have, the learnings, the different things in their arsenal, the different types of arrowheads, the different weapons, the traps that they are able to make, everything like that. I think if there's any medieval warrior who'd have a chance against that, it's going to be a ranger. Now again, ranger's a little more in the fantasy realm, like I said, Ranger's Apprentice and stuff like that. But let's just say a huntsman. I feel that they have the ability to do better than a knight or anyone clad in armor. And the armor's not going to matter when you get to a predator, because it'll punch through the steel that you have like it's nothing. Obviously, the steel they have is far superior, or the metal they have is far superior. So let me know what you think. Anything I could have done differently or done better. I hope you enjoy this. This was a ton of fun. I am having a great time nerding out. So I'll see you guys soon again, I hope.